Greetings. This video is meant to be a response, my response to the questions for weeks 6 through 9 of the YouTubePagan group challenge on Facebook. I apologize that I'm so far behind. I really mean to catch up and something happens. I'm glad to see I'm not the only person with this problem, but anyway, I want to do the weeks 6 through 9 so that then I am caught up, and I don't have a lot to say about each topic really, so I thought this might be doable in a short video. Let's see. Okay, number 6, getting right to it. Okay, getting right to it. Question 6 is, what are your cultural influences? Well, I don't have a very interesting story to go with that, other than the fact that, yes, I have a rather culturally diverse background. A lot of Scottish in my ancestry, and coincidentally, I have a great interest in medieval Scotland. Some of you already know that I am a medieval hobbyist and historian, and my studies in that area of interest have led me to learn quite a bit about the ancient Celts, particularly their pagan practices, and I have adopted more of those in my mundane life as well, in my own life. So that's where I'm probably my strongest influences comes from. I have a Christian background and after marriage a Catholic background, which I'm still influenced spiritually a lot by that background, but I do not have the influence from the church that I used to. I'm very much have moved on beyond that, but if you saw my early videos, you will see that I consider my spirituality not to have changed so much as to developed. I didn't leave one to become another. I just developed. So anyway, those are my influences. Enough said about that. Number 7, how do you view sacred texts or mythology? Well, other than the Bible, of course, I really didn't have much to background in mythology at all. I did not have as a child. I know my children in school studied mythology. For some reason, we did not when I was young. So it wasn't until adulthood that I really was familiar at all with too much information about any of the ancient gods or goddesses. But I do want to say one text, and I don't even know how to quote it. I don't even know if it was, what is it? But I in perusing this is my Book of Shadows, by the way, one of my Book of Shadows. And this is something that when I was very, very new to admitting this new label I was giving myself as a pagan, which, you know, to some people who are Christian, I think there's sort of almost a superstition about trying to adopt a new label. You want to maybe identify your new spirituality but still not give up that old label. I think that's why we have a lot of people who want to call themselves Christo-pagans, because they really don't want to cut the ties with their Christian background, and I can really understand that. Although that's really not the case for me. I just am what I am. I don't really like to go by labels too much, other than I do really call myself a pagan. I do. But one thing that helped me very, very much, and I don't even know what the source is, something that I have written here in my Book of Shadows. And so I would consider this a sacred text, and this is something which I have labeled as the Witch's Bible. But in trying to find out the source of this now, this was many years ago that I did this, and in trying to find the source of it now, and Googling the Witch's Bible, I find something that was published by somebody, one or two people, I don't know, I think their name is Farrar, maybe? Farrar, I think, R-R-A-R, I'm not sure. Something like that, which you probably already know what it is, which seems more like a handbook. It seems like all of the things in it's very much devoted to Wicca, I think. I would love somebody to tell me what that is, but I don't see what I'm referring to here in my Book of Shadows there. So I don't know the source of this. This was something I wrote just for me. I copied it from the internet just for me and really for my husband. And I think this was to one way that we adapted what we had learned as Christians about creation and about the God, etc., and adapted it to what we now, a way of transforming that, not leaving behind and starting something new, but the transition. This helped us with the transition to, if that makes any sense, I don't know. But I'm just going to read a little bit so you see what I'm talking about. And then maybe you can give me a source where I even got this. It says, in the beginning was the light, and all things that were, are, and shall be were in the light. The light is the creators, our God and Goddess. And the light said, let there be life, and the reverberating vibrations of their voices caused the creation of the universes. And the worlds were created, and in them were the elements of life, fire, water, air, and earth. And the evolution of life began. This was the beginning of ages and cycles of ages. Now, it goes on, and this is very reminiscent to what in the Bible you read in the book of Genesis. So that's what I said. It sort of helped me, and I would love if anybody has any information what that is that I was reading. But anyway, I thought that was sort of appropriate to mention here when we're discussing sacred texts, because I know how sacred the text it is, but to me it very much was at the time. Okay, question number 8. Do you have, or how did you find a matron or patron? Well, I still use many Christian icons in my practice. Of course, I still have a devotion to the Blessed Mother. I have many saints, not many, but some of the Christian saints that I have, especially when I offer prayers on some of my altars. I offer prayers, protection of my animals and things, or for the sick. I fall back on some of those things for that. Jesus as well. As far as a matron goes, matron, very much in, well, I think I usually it's just generally the God and the Goddess for me, but I do have an altar, and I mentioned before, dedicated usually, and this not all the year, but a lot of the year, to, you would call Bridget, I call Breege, who is the Scottish, that's the Scottish, the Gaelic name for Bridget, the patroness of poetry and singing and poetry and smithing, medicine, arts, crafts, cattle, livestock, sacred wells, whatever, arrival of spring. That's what it said in the glossary. To me, as a musician, as a composer, as a writer, she serves as my inspiration in poetry. I write poetry, arts and crafts, all of my creative endeavors. I turn to Breach for support in those areas. So very much influenced by that, by Breach. Pan, we go to ancient Greece for Pan, and for some reason my husband and I both have this attraction to Pan. We are musicians, Pan of course being the god of the wild and the shepherds and the flocks and things, and the companion of the nymphs. He's very famous for his sexual prowess, and he does usually live in our bedroom. But we do have a affinity for all manifestations of the horned god, Green Man, and anyway, but again, Goddess are usually generically, that's who we usually turn to. I usually turn to. But I did have one interesting thing. Oh, I wish I could find it. I hope I can find it. I mentioned it a while ago in a video response that I did on another group page, asking about sort of the same subject, about yes, about a patron and matrons and deities, you know. And I had this, I found it here. I was looking. I have never known anything about the Egyptian gods or goddesses. Like I said, I didn't study any of those things in school. And I know some of my friends are very devoted to some of the Egyptian goddesses. And I've gone to spirit fairs. They're very, very popular around here at spirit fairs. They usually have some kind of ritual, Egyptian kind of ritual at one of the days there. But anyway, I really never knew anything about it, and for some other reason, I was doing some journaling. In my dream journal because I was trying to work out some blocks and some problems that I was having in my life, and I get a lot of answers from my dreams usually. And I had a dream that there was I just wanted to look. Don't want to misquote it, but I had a dream where I was walking down a narrow road or path. And I saw turkeys on the road ahead of me. As I approached, they flew away, except for one that flew up into the air and came back down immediately in front of me. Suddenly, the turkey transformed into a beautiful woman, and her face was directly in front of mine, near enough that I could extend my arm and touch her. And I recognized her as Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess of justice and truth, and the weighing of the heart, ceremony of the dead. Okay, and I did a little bit of research and learned that many indigenous North and South American Indians believe that when the turkey visits us, it's a sign that we must be mindful of the blessings bestowed upon us each day. Further, it is a message to express our strength and brilliance. It's time to show our own plumage and reveal our true selves. Well, that was so meaningful to me because that's exactly what I was having a problem with at that point in my life. And anyway, so I'm so glad that this question came up again because it reminded me that I did want to do a little more study about Ma'at and learn a little bit more about her and how I might use her in my practice. So I thought that was fun. Okay. And finally, number 9 is, do you keep a journal or diary of your own experiences? Well, I have mentioned in the past my tarot journals, and I've showed those in a couple of videos, that I do journal, not always about tarot, but I do journal, some about dreaming, some about, I have another one I'm starting, that I'm, another kind of a tarot journal, so I use those semi-regularly. My Book of Shadows, which I know we're going to talk about later, but my Book of Shadows, while it's a lot of things for a lot of us, one thing that it is for me is I do put things in here that I have done. If I have done spells, I write them down and I put them in my Book of Shadows. If I have incense blends that I really like, I write them down and I put them in my Book of Shadows because that's a good reference for me for the future, that something has worked or no, whatever, not, or things that I have done. Or collected from other people, of course, but it is very much a journal kind of a thing as I'm recording something, part of my practice in a book. New for me is blogging. For years I've had a Good Wife, a gardening blog, The Good Wife's Garden, and that's my everyday life and my connection to my garden and my chickens and things. But just in the last month or two, I have begun a sister blog to that called The Bird and the Crone, called Bird and the Crone, and a Facebook page in the same name, which I think I have even put a link on that on this page, the page on this group page on Facebook. But this is a journaling of sorts of there's going to be a journaling of my spiritual life. So that's going to go on that blog. And then finally, I consider my YouTube channel to be a video blog. It is a video blog. I write down where I just got my dream from. I have this green binder and I journal all the time, all my spiritual doings that I then share on my YouTube channel. So that very much is a journal. That's probably the greatest journal that I keep. The diary of my experiences is what I put on my channel there. And I think you agree. I think you all agree too. Anyway, this has been fun. I didn't mean to go on trying to get all those questions in one video, but anyway, I wanted to do it. I apologize again for being so far behind, and I want to repeat that I am watching your videos and I really am enjoying them. They're really, really interesting. I'm seeing so many fresh young faces. I feel absolutely ancient when I see how young you are, and I love to hear you have so much wisdom, so many of you, for such a young age, and that is very, very, very heartwarming to me. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate you coming to my channel. I am Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.